Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andy from Magoo Investing. Happy Monday. Through the course of me making videos on this channel, the most common question I get is, do you like so-and-so for a long-term investment? And when I look at the overall stock market, we have hundreds or thousands of options when it comes to overall investing. But when I look at the overall market, I would really only consider buying like maybe 75 of them, maybe 100 of them. Meaning the rest of the stocks out there, I either have no really solid opinion on them or I'm not going to touch them at all. And so in today's video, I'm going to go through my thought process of my I'm never going to be buying list. These are stocks that go against my principles and views as an overall investor. And I'm going to talk about the three main categories of stocks that I will never buy. And I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about these type of categories, because it's different for every person. Just because I don't like a type of stock that you really like, I don't have anything against you personally. It's just for me and my investing style, I don't want to be involved with these types of stocks because I think either they go against my morals or they're just a stock that I don't feel comfortable investing in. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. And be sure to leave in the comment section down below what type of stocks you guys will never touch, because I'm very curious to see if there's any overlap between the stocks that I'll never touch and the stocks that you guys won't touch. And just a reminder that if I talk about a stock that you really like, I have nothing against you. It's just me trying to give my viewpoint. That's the whole point of this channel, is to talk about my thought process for investing in the stock market. And if you have a view that's different from me, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. I love having discussion and not just you're an idiot because you don't like the stock. I want to hear why you like the stock, because just because I don't like something doesn't mean that you have to stay away from it. That's the whole point of this channel, is I want to have a discussion. So the first group of stocks that I will never buy are the ones that have a lot of hype behind them and the ones that don't have a lot of information. You could put these into two separate categories, but I feel like they do go hand in hand. And so the easiest examples to talk about are AMC and GameStop. I made a video back in December talking about why I thought GameStop was ready to skyrocket, and I was pretty right about that. And so I made a decent amount of money off of that. But now we've gotten to the point where it's just all hype, and there's this narrative about fighting against the hedge funds, and which is not something that I want to be a part of. And so it's pretty impressive that people invested in GameStop have made a lot of money. I'm pretty impressed that it's sitting at $260, and it's been able to stay up there for a decently long time. But overall, these are the types of stocks that I don't like getting involved in. I want to invest in a company that the bull case for it has to do with the actual company, not just based off of everyone's going to be buying in and not selling. Because when you look at GameStop, it was justified the first couple moves up, maybe going from like $15 up to like $50. That's based off of the optimism about the company restructuring and the idea of having Ryan Cohen come in and set it up to succeed in the future. And so that was great. You have the optimism based off of that. But at this point, it's hard to justify for a long-term investment that GameStop should be sitting this high. And so you see this a lot on YouTube channels. You see channels talking about, oh, this stock is going to 10x or 100x, and you should buy now because you don't want to miss out. And it's based off of hype and not based off of looking at the overall company and saying, oh, this is undervalued. It should go up in value over time. When I talk about companies that I really love and I think that are going to do fantastic in the next couple years, they're companies that I've invested in. The biggest example of that is probably GE. This is a stock that is my ride or die for 2021. I've bought in. Every time it's fallen, I've bought more. And every time it moves, I get comments asking about it. And nothing's changed about my viewpoint about the actual company. So I will continue to buy more. Unlike some of these hype stocks that it's based off of how the price movement's going and people getting excited about, maybe we're going to see another bull run up to the moon. When you see me talk about a specific company in a video, I usually do 3 to 4 hours of research beforehand because I want to get as good of a view of what's going on with the actual company, because I think it'd be wrong to talk about a company that I don't really understand what's going on with it. And so if I cannot find enough information to satisfy my need to kind of understand what's going on with the company and understand why it's been moving up and down in specific ways, it's usually a huge red flag for me. And when I do research on these smaller momentum plays, I usually find like one article talking about why the stock has gone up, but then nothing about, a long-term bull case or some analysis from the last earnings report. It's all based off of, oh, this stock jumped 100% in a day. Here's why it could continue and here's why it might not. And so that's going to be my first red flag. Sure, you can have an outlier, something like a Tesla that was definitely a momentum play, but it had a lot of fundamental analysis going behind it. And the fact that it was partially a short squeeze, partially a momentum play, and then also the fact that they had 8 straight quarters of producing a profit, which really shot the price up. So yes, this was a momentum play, but I would consider it an outlier because the momentum play wasn't the only thing that was pushing it up. It was a mix of a variety of factors. So that's category 1 of stocks that I'll never buy. Stocks that don't have enough information, and the ones that are momentum plays where I can't find enough analysis on why the stock is moving the way that it has. And category number 2, I'm going to talk about stocks that have very similar options out there. And the ones I usually think about are Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, the ride-sharing companies, and then the airlines. So the motivation for making this video is I got a comment yesterday asking about my opinions on Air Canada. And as an American, I really have no opinion on Air Canada because it's not a product that I've used in the past, and I don't know a lot of people that have used it. The only experience I have with Air Canada is back when the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Raptors played at the Air Canada Centre, which is now the Scotiabank Arena, but that's a different point. So overall, I really have no opinion on Air Canada. When I look at the airline industry, I currently have two different plays that I'm looking at. I have traded Delta in the past. Delta is my long-term international travel type play because this is a company that's really dependent on the reopening of borders and business travel because that's their most profitable part of their business. But as of right now, I'm invested in something like a Southwest Airlines, something that isn't as reliant on the border opening or the vaccine being rolled out effectively. And so I have two different plays for that. And the rest of the airlines, something like a JetBlue, a United, or my least favorite stock of all time, American Airlines. So when I look at the airline space, I have my two favorite stocks, and I don't really see any reason to buy into the other ones because I think Delta is the best for the international and the business travel. And then if I'm looking to make a domestic play, I have Southwest Airlines. And so I have no reason to buy into the other airlines. And when I look at something like a Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, yes, they're very similar and they do operate slightly differently. You have DoorDash that doesn't have, the ride sharing aspects of it. But when I look at them, the main struggle of these companies is if you have some legislation go through that's going to classify these drivers as employees, it's going to hurt all three of them. And so I put them into the same type of umbrella of, I don't really see a reason to buy into Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. You can pick one of your favorites, but when I look at them, you don't need to buy all three. If you have a favorite, go for it. And then you don't really need to worry about the other one. So when I get all these questions about the airline industry, I have my favorites. I really have no reason to buy into the other ones. And this does not include, just the tech stocks. You're like, oh, I bought into Apple. I have some exposure to the tech industry. I shouldn't be buying into Microsoft because it's also a tech stock. No, you can buy into all these tech stocks. It's just, if I look at a business and I see that its catalysts for going up or down are very similar, I don't think there's any reason to expose yourself. The idea of buying different stocks is to diversify yourself because if something goes wrong, maybe we have some air travel problems. If you're only invested in airlines, you're going to really struggle. But if you have something where you have a 5G problem that might hurt Apple, it probably won't hurt Microsoft as much. And so the whole idea of diversifying is to protect yourself. And if you're investing in companies that are all operating like the same type of business, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So you can look at an example of the 5G stocks, stuff like an AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, which is ticker symbol TMUS. Doesn't make a lot of sense to invest in all of them. They're going to go up and down based off the same type of catalyst. Yes, an argument can be made that an AT&T may be a potentially better dividend play. Verizon may be better for a long-term growth potential. But personally, I think it's better just to find one that you really like and stick with that. And so the third grouping of stocks that I'll never buy are the ones that I don't morally agree with. And these are two groupings. The ones that I usually think of are the oil stocks and the healthcare stocks. As someone that's going into a career in conservation, it doesn't make sense for me to invest in a space that is going directly against the type of changes that I'm looking to see. Especially these companies like Exxon that's known about climate change for 40 years at this point and haven't done anything. And then the other group of stocks that I'll never buy based off of morals has to do with healthcare. This may be a bold statement, but I think that privatized healthcare is a horrible thing and we should be getting rid of it. And so investing in companies that are going to be benefiting from how horrible our healthcare system is doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I remember seeing this momentum of people trying to invest in healthcare stocks that were going to be trying to come up with a vaccine. And that just didn't make sense to me because it feels really wrong to be investing in companies that are going to benefit from producing a vaccine that's going to save hundreds of thousands or millions of lives, and just to buy in because of that one benefit, because you think the stock price will go up. And so that might be somewhat of a bad thing to say for my channel overall, but it's just something that goes against my morals. And so these are two types of companies that I don't want my money to be associated with these types of companies. I have no problem if you want to invest in them, but for someone like myself that'll have a career in conservation, the oil stocks don't make sense to me. And for someone that believes that we should have non-privatized healthcare, buying into the healthcare stocks doesn't make a lot of sense for me. Then you could also throw the cruise stocks in there because I don't love the idea that they're based out of the US, but they have their boats ported in other areas so they can take advantage of the cheap labor costs and don't have to pay as many taxes. I don't love that as well. So those are the three main categories of stocks that I'm not going to want to buy for my portfolio. You have the ones that have hype but no information. You have the ones that have very similar type of businesses where I feel strongly about one of the stocks and it doesn't make sense for me to invest in 5 different airlines at the same time. I can pick my favorite and just go from there. And then number 3, you have the ones that I don't agree with morally. I think there's this narrative out there that you have to invest in companies that you don't really believe in, but are the ones that are going to make you the most amount of money. Yes, you have companies like Amazon that have been fantastic if you've been invested in them for the long term, but there are some people that feel very strongly against the company. But the whole point of this channel is for me to show that there's a variety of ways that you can invest out there. That's probably my favorite thing about investing in the stock market is there's no right way or wrong way to do it. You can invest in companies that you really feel strongly about that don't go against your moral compass. That's why I'm as transparent as possible, to show the companies that I love and give the reasoning behind it. You can invest in companies that you love and still be successful. Those are the 3 types of companies that I'm going to be staying away from at all costs. So I'm very curious to see what kind of companies you have on your do not buy list, and if there's any overlap in the companies that I mentioned in this video. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate all the support, and I will see you in the next video.